So today we're going to look at the video spectral comparator 900, also known as VSC 900. This is one of our latest products, and we're going to use it to examine passports and to look at the standard security features. So the first thing you might want to check in a passport is things like microprinting or the quality of the printing. So we can use magnification to look at these features. Here, for example, the more I zoom in, the more this microprint here is visible. So you can see there's some sort of microprinting. And we can also examine the quality itself. So if this was a fake document, this wouldn't look like this. It wouldn't have this quality. Another very common feature in passports is infrared. So in the VSC, we've got different cutoff points or infrared filters. The one that is most commonly used is 780 nanometers. So this is where we illuminate with white light, as you can see. But inside the VSC, there's filters that will block the light going into the camera. So at the moment, even though we are illuminating with normal white light, the camera is only seeing 780 nanometers, which is the filter I've selected, to 1000 nanometers. This is why we get this reaction that you can see on screen. So you can see some of the information in the passport is absorbing the infrared light, so it's staying dark, and the background is disappearing. So there's no colors and there's no patterns. This ink is reflecting the infrared light. This is a common reaction in passports. If it doesn't react this way, it might mean it's not genuine. Obviously, there's other checks you can do to confirm this, but this would be the first one. We can also use ultraviolet illumination. In the VSC, we've got 3 different wavelengths. The most common one is 365 nanometers, which is the one I've selected at the moment. And you can see the UV pattern here. You would also be able to visualize UV fibers, which are there. In a fake passport, this might be things you might want to look at because they might not have them. Some fake documents might try to replicate the UV pattern, but they might fail in things like the quality of the reaction or even things like the colors. So they might not replicate the colors as they normally are. Even things like microprinting. You might find some documents that have UV microprint, and counterfeits would struggle to replicate that reaction. Apart from UV 365, we've got 2 more wavelengths of UV, which are 308 and 254. These ones are less common, but they're also good to check because some documents have a different reaction to each wavelength of UV. Even though the shortwave UV, as soon as we open the flaps, they will turn off automatically. There is also transmitted illumination. As you can see, this is where the base illuminates from below. And we can see security features like watermarks, security threads, see-through register. So here we can straight away see the watermark in the passport. And something else you can do is apply infrared illumination in order to get rid of all the background interference. So all you have to do is select infrared or one of the filters, and you will get that infrared reaction plus the transmitted. So the data or the information will not drop out, but you can see the watermark better. We also have transmitted UV. So this was designed for a specific security feature, but it can also be used as transmitted and ultraviolet illumination at the same time to visualize things like the UV pattern and the watermark. We also have spot fluorescence. So this is also known as infrared fluorescence. The way this illumination works is we illuminate with a certain wavelength of light, which would be 410 or 445, etc. You can also refer to these wavelengths as colors. So some people prefer to use the color name instead of the wavelength. And basically, we're illuminating with specific wavelength of light, and then the reaction is at a longer wavelength. So the inks will react to this specific band of light, and they will fluoresce. The VSC will automatically select the appropriate infrared filter according to the wavelength of fluorescence you've selected, as you can see. You can also have them working separately, but normally we recommend they work together. We also have individual LEDs in the 900, which are used to visualize security features like holograms or kinograms. Again, this is a very common security feature and it's found in every passport. We can do it in two ways. So we can do sequence, which would be all OVDs, or we can only do the horizontal ones or the vertical ones. The first thing would be to select the sequence you want to run. And then if you want to look at the kinogram, you would have to select composite image. Once you've selected these settings, you can run the sequence, and the VSC will start taking an image with each individual LED, and it will put it in the image gallery. Once the OVD sequence is finished, it will show you the composite image. So here we've got the whole kinogram in the document. You can see all the different patterns, all the different colors, etc. And then you also have an image for each individual OVD angle. It also tells you the sequence, so V for vertical, and then the angle of the LED. And you can check each individual reaction one by one, or you can just look at the whole pattern. In fake documents, this is also very hard to replicate. So they might try to do this, but they might only achieve a few reactions, not all the different variations that we can see in this document. Sometimes you might also find that it's just a photocopy that is a little bit shiny. So it doesn't even have a reaction to each individual LED. So this would be the way to check if a document is genuine or fake. There is other documents like ID cards, driving licenses, and it's also found in passports. They've got features like intaglio printing or embossing or raised printing, which we can visualize using the sidelights. The VSCs have two sidelights, one on the left, one on the right. And we can also apply infrared illumination to visualize these features even better. So here we've got embossing or raised printing, which we can visualize using side lights and infrared together. The height is also adjustable, so you can raise them or lower them as needed in order to generate more shadows and highlights. Another option would be to use both side lights together at the same time. So you can either have the right one on or the left one on, or both of them active. Another security feature that can be found in documents is anti-stokes. So there's a type of illumination in the VSC 900 that when you select it and click on, it will display the security feature. The reason why this is showing us green is because we are illuminating with a high wavelength of infrared, which is 980 nanometers, and this feature is reacting to that infrared illumination, and it's showing us green. So basically, the emission is in the visible part of the spectrum. So it's emitting a lower wavelength than the excitation wavelength. Ultraviolet light is also known as Stokes shift, which is basically when you illuminate with a low wavelength, which would be 365 nanometers, and the emission is at a higher wavelength in the visible part of the spectrum. When we refer to anti-Stokes, the opposite happens. So we illuminate with a high wavelength and the emission is at a lower wavelength. In this case, it's in the visible part of the spectrum, and that's why when we activate anti-Stokes illumination, we can see it fluoresce with a green color.